all the endeavors you're plugged into, and welcome to Sigma Land. I know
Definitely.
you met me in a sea of purple,
Yes.
but you rose above to blue and white, the greatest fraternity on the face of the earth, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated.
Let's talk about that day we met. Can you explain to the community who you are and what you're doing, and let's tell them how we met.
I'd love to share. The whole thing is I was serving in a role, and I'm currently the civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army Emeritus, but I was in an active status, and for the conclave for the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the Army had sponsored what they call a Circle of Influence luncheon. And I was tasked by the Secretary's office to be a part of that luncheon and come and bring remarks around what a civilian aid is and what we do and how we plug in the community. And if you're not familiar with the civilian aid, the Secretary program, which has been sunsetted, prior to June of this year, of last year, they were a collective of CEOs and influencers from across the country, in fact, across the globe, because we extended into Guam and some of the other islands off our coast. Fast forward, I was actually serving in my 8th year as a civilian aide here in the state of Florida. So we were going in to present and share to the Omegas the opportunity that was the Army. I was joined by a 2-star general. The equivalent post for that rank of a civilian aide is a 3-star general. So for the military, it was a great post, but it's a humbling post because the whole role was, can you bring community together?
Mm.
Just to give you a little more history, we also did the same thing and brought a team of individuals to the Houston conclave when we had hosted that for the Sigmas, and we were able to hire over 25 people out of that conclave on the spot, and we were able to build influence with that particular group. And they were a great sponsor to Phi Beta Sigma. So in Tampa, we were at the position where I was being brought in to speak. So I walk in this blue suit, folks, because I'm a proud Sigma man, in the sea of purple, and you got all of these brothers watching me walk to this room. And I walk into the room and I'm seated for a little while, and then I'm asked to come to the podium and speak and bring remarks. Somehow in that sea of purple, JayR McIntyre, the Hood Motivator, and another military member, Akeem, saw me present and said, I got to get. So before I got off the stage, they were at the foot of the stage, folks, saying, we want to know more about you. And then by that evening, we were then again at the Army Ball, because all of this was taking place at the same time. And we were able to build a relationship. And through that relationship, I saw elements and qualities that fit what we were looking for in Sigma when we are looking at candidates. And I believe JayR can tell you his side of the story, but he saw something in me, because I think if you are proud enough of an organization, you walk, you talk, you breathe, you represent the organization at all times. And I'm glad that he saw enough of a Sigma in me and a sea of purple of Omega Psi Phi to say that this is something that I want to be a part of. This is something I want to know more about. And the rest of the story is he's wearing the colors because he earned them.
Definitely. I was inspired, and I've been to a lot of these events before, and I was military for 14 years, so I saw a lot of the fraternities, and I saw a lot of things that I, needed to see while I was a young man in the military. But what I saw that day and that night was so impelling that I had to ask you a question, and I quickly had to gravitate and make you my mentor and say, how can I be exactly or example like that? Because you didn't have to say anything. We talked about this the other day and how you mentored me, that you don't necessarily have to don the colors to be a Sigma man. Your whole aura, your energy, who you are as a man, like, is just Sigma, Phi Beta Sigma. And I appreciate you because you brought me along, and you showed me the ropes.
You know what? And I think that's what it's all about. Wanted to make sure that you were in with the right chapter, in your local area, and the brothers there are doing the care and feeding and bringing you along. The goal for me is a long time ago when I was a young Marine, there was a poster up in the barracks that said, if someone accused you of being a Marine, would there be enough evidence to convict you? And I would say the same thing holds true for me for Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Is I walk and talk. I'm not divorced of the organization just because I'm not wearing the colors.
Mm,
Whether it is on my lapel or it is in my speech or my commentary, I am representing the best in Phi Beta Sigma at all times.
right.
So when you can do that, and to the point of somebody says, "Hey, I want to emulate what I saw," and I thought, you asked me, so how should I come when I invited you to come and speak at our leadership conference? I said, you come as you are, because the key thing, it isn't just about the colors that makes you a Sigma. It's about what's in your heart. It's about aspiring to the ideals that our brothers, our founders, the Honorable A. Langston Taylor, the Honorable Leonard F. Morris, and the Honorable Charles I. Brown set in the fabric of who we are. What the high ideals is brotherhood, scholarship, and service. And for me, being able to serve others in the community is exactly what I was doing that day that you saw me. I was in a day of service to the Army, but I was representing Sigma within the Divine Nine environment, right? So I think every Sigma does that or should do that. That if someone sees you and says there's something different about you, it's because I'm a Sigma man. I'm very proud of it. No, not bashful about it. When you look upon the stars in the heavens, what do you see? Nothing but blue and white.
That's it, man. I love it too because you inspired me to do what I'm doing now. And I joined a little later. I'm 44. I'll be 45 this year. But God knows the timing, and God knows my heart, and God knows exactly what I needed at that moment. And I was coming through a difficult time after my bankruptcy and trying to find who I was again and remember, what I'm saying, my power and my strength. And as I became, top 50 motivational speakers in the world and got signed to Los Angeles Tribune Podcasting, shout out to them. They found me when I was in the dark, speaking alone, talking to myself, healing myself, doing the inner work, doing the inner child work, understanding who I am. And at that moment, I saw a man that I can live up to. I have a father and my dad's a great man, but I also saw that in you, what I'm saying? And thank you for just inspiring me and putting that type of energy inside of me. And then fast forward, spring 2025, I became a Phi Beta Sigma man. So I appreciate you for just, what I'm saying, just showing me the road. You didn't force it on me. You talked to me about it. You let me become the person I needed to be. You continue to help me develop. You always continue to, what I'm saying, even if we don't talk every day. I think people get that conflicted that mentors and mentees need to speak every day. No, I watch your actions. I see everything you do on LinkedIn. I watch everything you do on your podcast, on your Instagram. When we do talk, it's like we never stop talking. And I appreciate you just, that's true mentorship to me. And I always tell people when they see me as a Sigma man, I give you your flowers always. And then the next person I give is Daniel. And I let people know I'm not afraid to let people know who put me in position. And I think what's wrong with society now and people gatekeeping is people are afraid to tell the people who you put in position. I'm not in competition. I can never be who you are. But at the end of the day, I could try to lead up to that example of what you're showing me and be the best version of me. So I appreciate it.
You know what? Those are just thank you for the incredible words of support. I'm able to reach people because in my work. So you asked me to tell. My work is I host a podcast, Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast, where
Talk about it.
right now we dropped our latest episode last night, which is on the series of Voices of Leadership, where
Yes.
I've had guests on, four-star generals, General Gary Brito, who just retired, to an incredible guest coming up here in episode 7 will be Lieutenant General Gwen Bingham, just a stellar. These individuals are stellar in their work and what they're professed. And, in this current climate in the nation where we're saying people were promoted or given their ranks because of their status, I want to say that that's not true.
Right.
Uh, they Gwen Bingham didn't become a general officer because she was a black woman. Gwen Bingham became a general officer because she was qualified.
Mm.
Gary Brito rose to the highest rank possible, other than Joint Chiefs of Staff, as a four-star general in the United States Army. And my show is to sit down and have a conversation like we're doing right now with some of the top minds in leadership and let them drop nuggets, let them share a little bit about what's going on. In my other walk, I am a leadership coach and certified by John C. Maxwell as a coach and speaker. You know, I travel and help organizations build people first cultures. And what it really comes down to me, for me, JR, is I've been through some stuff, you know. I've navigated that terrible feeling of bankruptcy, but I'm here to tell you folks, if you've been through that or you're going through that or that is somewhere in your pathway, please don't get discouraged. Bankruptcy is nothing more than a legal action that helps you reset and get back on your way. So many times we put the stigma and the hurt of being in bankruptcy on people, and I don't think that's fair. What I want people to understand is if the president of the United States can leverage this legal action to reset when business may not go his way, why can't you? And then the
Exactly.
key thing is, I love what you said, because then you did the work. See,
Right.
because it's the work that comes after it. It's the work of maintaining your emotional and mental health.
Right.
It's maintaining your physical health, because the way society has viewed it and put it out there, we've made that such a stigma that people bear the weight of that, and it can sometimes lead to some very traumatic conclusions. So,
Yes.
first of all, kudos and a hand clap of praise to you for standing up and doing what it takes to get through that,
Right.
to have met you during a period after that doesn't mean you can't be successful as you are now. You are one of the top 50 motivational speakers in the country, in the world. And,
Yes.
and people are hiring you, folks. He said we don't talk often. That's because of his schedule. But, but when we talk, it's meaningful.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I talk about in my book, Engage, Invest, Grow, which is a book about the blueprint for building masterful relationships. It's about making relationship deposits into other people's lives,
Right.
and then you cultivate it, and you talk and you understand. If you use the framework I wrote, it's called the SHIPS framework. It's about, let me learn something about you first,
Right.
scholarship, before I ever decide if I want to be in a partnership. Because then if we got shared interests and things come together, then I can move to partnership and talk about what our shared interests are and how we can help each other. Then
Exactly.
the next part of that framework is sponsorship. That's where I open the door for you.
Mm.
I opened the door for you once I got to know you to come into the greatest fraternity on the face of the land.
You did.
And
And
then the last part of that is ownership.
yeah.
Now managing it, because I need you, because my name is attached to you, and how you wear our colors and how you represent yourself.
Right.
But then you do that with relationships. That's one of the reasons I've been so successful, is I've had mentors who poured into my life and saw something in me and then just developed it.
Exactly. And I appreciate you doing that for me because like I don't know how many mentees you have, but I'm glad that I'm selected to be a part of that battalion or that company or whatever. I appreciate it. I think I forced my way. I kind of bullied my love on you, and I appreciate you just sticking in there with me and just showing me the ropes and understanding who I am, and just continuing to pour. A lot of mentors, they stop pouring when they see that they mentee have that's growing, and sometimes that's difficult for me because when I was in the military, I was very eager to learn and get rank and understand and lead soldiers. And when I started to pass my sergeants that was above me, then things got difficult for me because everybody wants you to do better, but not better than them. And I appreciate you just always creating that lane. You saw me as a speaker. You put me on two stages before I even became a Sigma. And I became a Sigma. And then you said, okay, let me do this for you. So I appreciate you always just being there for me. And I think that's rare, especially as men and black men, that I tell people all the time, my greatest probably oppositions coming up, it's not it's not the other race. It's always us against us, and I don't understand that because when you see another strong black man that's really confident it makes other men, other black men feel insecure. But when I saw your strength, your passion, the way you love your wife, the way you love your kids, the way you run your business, the way that you are a Sigma man, the way that you're about to run for state director in the near future, like I love it. I love it because it just hypes me up. That's my mentor. I can brag about you. That's my aunt. Like I told you the other day, I said before I was in Sigma, I was like, invite me to some of the events. I'll be your security. I carry your bags. He was like, I can't. It's secretive. And I understood that now. But I just wanted to be a part of something because I saw that with you. So, a lot of people don't understand too, even running business, like you an entrepreneur, you got out the military, you dealing with your mental health. People judge you from the way they see you, but don't even know that the talks we had offline that you deal with mental health issues. So can we talk about that?
Yeah, I'm a strong advocate for mental health advocacy, especially amongst Black brothers and in the Black community, because seeking assistance with our mental health had been taboo in Black America. We would run away from it rather than run to it.
Right.
I am a PTSD survivor. I was diagnosed with post traumatic stress syndrome, and but I have sought the counseling. I have sought the embrace of the VA to be able to help me get into groups to help me navigate everything from how racism impacted my life. Many may say that there's no such thing. I will tell you there is, and it's
Right.
systemic, and it has an impact. But I chose to seek out the assistance so that I could be better. Because if my mental health is good, then my physical health follows it.
Right.
If my mental health is out of whack, it becomes a challenge. And there's so many young veterans and young people in America, because you don't have to have served in the military to be affected by post-traumatic stress. With the current situation in the country, this national narrative, there are people witnessing things that will affect their lives for the rest of their lives.
Right.
And that's where, I want to be an advocate to say, particularly when you think about Sigma wellness, we're always talking about how can Sigmas be well? Well, one of the things is to uh, proactively encourage young men to get engaged with a healthcare provider, a mental health provider who can help you deal with it. And it's more than just talk. There are techniques to help you develop the correct mindset as you go through things, and to
Hmm.
help you stay firm and focused, and affirm you as a man,
Hmm.
so that you can move forward in life and not be stuck because of something that happened or transpired in your lifetime. So I'm not bashful about talking about it, because if I'm bashful, then I can't help the other. And my wife always says that I'm everybody's favorite uncle. People come to me with everything.
Right.
That is such an honor that people say, I can go and trust some of the innermost feelings I have with this brother, and make sure that I'm going to get sound advice. And I don't try to be a counselor because I'm not trained, but I can listen and be a coach and get you to the right person so that you can get the help that you need. And I will tell you that has sustained me, because in the world of entrepreneurship, it's a cycle. One day you're up, the next month you're down, and you got to be able to have those reaffirming factors and those beliefs in something greater than yourself. My belief is in God and Jesus Christ, but you got to have those beliefs, that firm foundation, and that gives you the faith to keep going and keep getting up every morning, putting one foot in front of the other and making it happen. And so that's how I deal with it, JR. And that's what I see you do, because I know you have that challenge as well, and how we navigate it to where we stay firmly in and being present. Because if we can be present, we can accomplish a lot. It's where we check out is when we start to hurt ourselves, and that's where we may need some help.
Exactly, and I love the way that you answer that. And being my first guest on season three, on the Motivators Table podcast, that's now signed by Los Angeles Tribune. I'm so happy just to have you here and then talking about mental health in this space, because a lot of people are hashtagging it. A lot of people are talking about it and it looks good. I remember back in the day, it was like nobody wanted to talk about it. It was like drinking vinegar water. But now everybody are talking about it. Now I'm challenging everybody is, are you doing the work? Are you doing the work? Are you doing the inner child? Are you speaking life into yourself? Before you help anybody or get behind this mic, are you helping yourself? Because people forgot that when you talk on the big stage like you do, and you are a big mogul like who you are, and you lead people from the front, we're watching you. And a lot of our generation, younger than me, my son, them, they watch from the social media. So you could tell them
Yes, they
whatever you
do.
need to tell them. But if they don't see you living your life on social media or Googling it, like then you're not who you say you are. And I can say that you are who you say you are because whatever you're doing right now is still inspiring people my age and my son's age. Because my son talks about you all the time. He still remember the day he met you and the day that I knew that I was going to become a Sigma man. I knew that for a fact. I chased you down. I begged you. I said, "How can I?" And you observed me. You interviewed me. You saw me in action. You had people watch me, and then you gave me the tips to who I needed to connect to, and that's big for my mentor because I don't trust. I've been in places where, yeah, the military did some things, but entrepreneurship did some things too mentally for me too. Going bankrupt, believing in people, betrayal. That's why I wrote my book. So you even inspired me to continue to write my books. So after I met you, I'm on my third book right now. My third book comes out
There we
February.
go.
It's called A Good Heart Don't Pay Bills, and that's for you. So I'm giving you again, like, thank you because I wouldn't have done a lot of this if I didn't see you do it. I don't care if I hear you. I watched you at the conference have your book out. I watched you said, okay, I'm gonna do my podcast, Jerry. I see you doing yours. I watched you pull yourself up from the bootstraps from this last conference. I watched you continue to do who you are now. And now look at it. It's 2026 and we met in 24 in July. And now I'm still a Neo, but I'm a Phi Beta Sigma. But look where we at right now, and I appreciate it because now you're gracing my season 3, my first episode. That's I'm signed again to Los Angeles Tribune, so it's going to hit so many airways because now it's the conversation between mentor and mentee. So can you tell me about your life? Let me know how like what you got going on right now. In you in Orlando or Daytona?
Today I'm in Jacksonville at home, but there's something you mentioned I just want to go back to and tell you where I drew it from. I met a great man when I was invested almost 10 years ago into the CASA or the civilian aid of the Secretary of the Army Corps. His name is Russell Honore, General Russell Honore, the Raging Cajun. And General Honore said something that stuck with me from the day that we got invested. I'll never forget it, December 16th in 2016. He said, Allie, your audio got to match your video. If you say it, make sure you walk in the walk to make sure that what you say is what you're living. And Facebook, social media has a way of getting inside and exposing. If you're not, it will tell the truth on you. And I try to tell people that, don't believe everything on Facebook. Please, folks, understand. I tell you the things that are going on and I'm pretty transparent, but there are others that will tell you what they want you to hear because they're looking at getting the click, getting the like, getting the following. I
Yes.
hope when my social media interaction is helping people grow, see that they can do it too. Because, if you look at Allie Braswell and you say, hey, he's successful, know that you can be as well. In
Exactly.
2026 right now, had to reshape the company, refocus Braswell Group, which is my organization, on totally working with organizations to do people first cultures. I'm working on right now a workshop where the base for that workshop is John C. Maxwell's High Road Leadership book, and giving him all the credit in the world. What a great mentor! So mentors have great mentors. And John taught me when he says you sit down with somebody for the first time and you interview them, and he talks about how he interviewed the coach at UCLA, and the coach thought he was going to have him for 30 minutes. He ended up having him for all 8 hours. John followed him around, and when he finished with Coach McKay, he asked him, "What should I have asked you, and what do I need to know from what you told me?" And I look at John C. Maxwell. A lot of people have their opinions, but John has poured into my life with his teachings through what I've learned, and that's what I'm doing now. So one of the things is they're going to be doing a workshop for one of the local municipalities in in a half-day workshop, just kind of recanting the book. Now, there's also a 12-day mastermind that I'll be teaching on that book, which is 12 weeks, and we'll walk through the book together, understanding how I wrote leadership. I'm also doing a mastermind on my book, Engage, Invest, Grow, which is all about the power of building relationships. So this year is focused on being on stages and in places where I can make a difference. Continuing the Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast. We'll be running 4 seasons this year, so I'm so glad to be able to help you kick off yours. And just know the invitation is coming to be on Off the Record and tell that your story. And the whole goal is, folks, if you're looking for a speaker to be on your stage, it's going to move people, impact people, and have them see themselves and that they can do it too, then I'm your man, Allie Braswell. I love how Steve Harvey says that. I'm your man, Steve Harvey. Another person I admire greatly because he doesn't have a problem telling his story. Everyone sees him as the great comedian, actor, TV show host. But Steve tells you his humble beginnings and sleeping in his car and having to go the extra mile to be able to be seen, and when he finally got his break. And I'm going to tell you that I believe everybody has that ability to find that break. You got to stay prayed up. You got to stay in your lane doing your work. You got to hone your skills. You got to get good at it, and you got to do it when other people is not watching and want to be successful. And then when you get there, I trust and believe that God said is good to his words, that in Jeremiah 29:11, he says that I know the plans I have to prosper you and not harm you. And I just believe that. And so with my belief system intact, my faith going in the right way, and putting in the labor, the work, I just wrote a workshop. I'm writing another workshop. I'm looking at marketing because as an entrepreneur, what we find out is, we do it all. We're our marketing, we're our editor, we're our producer, we're our executive producer. I've yet to monetize Off the Record, but I'm looking for sponsors for Off the Record that will help me take it even further and be able to build a quality informational portal to real leadership nuggets that move the needle in organizations, where we put people first, right alongside the need to have profits. And when you do that, you build a sustainable model that takes organizations to the top. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I don't want to talk too much, but I'm excited about it, as you can see, because I can see that even through the podcast, people are writing me back saying, I needed that. I couldn't believe that you had that person on your show. I can't believe I have access to these people. And that's what it's all about for me. We're going to be doing a leadership gathering once a quarter, beginning in March of the first quarter. And then we're going to cascade that around to where we'll end up having a summit like you spoke at in December of 24. So
I love it.
A little bit of work. I'm just a little busy.
No, I love it. And like I said, you continue to inspire me, keep going. And just thank you for just being who you are, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day. And I think that that the work that you're doing in the community of who you are, and as a Sigma man and as a husband, is so monumental for right now. And as we embark upon Martin Luther King Day that's coming up, we just had our Founders Day, Blue Phi, and now this weekend is going to be very huge. Can you talk about the weekend that you got planned and everything that you're doing in the community, and can you tell the audience everything that you got going on?
Well, folks, it's going to be busy because it's MLK weekend. I'll be starting my weekend in Orlando with the Alphas at their MLK luncheon. Then we'll celebrate our sorors, the Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated's anniversary this year. And I'm looking so much forward to that because they'll be celebrating their 106th anniversary as finer women. I'll roll out of that, try to do a couple of parades where it'd be, again, making that service, giving back, walking with my brothers in those parades and my sisters and other members of the Divine Nine organizations. And then on Monday, I get to go in and do my 14th year of hosting the City of Ocoee's Unity Day celebration at West Oaks Mall. And, that has just been a blessing. I've been engaged with that 15 years since its infancy. I
Mm.
spoke as the keynote speaker as the uh, CEO of the Central Florida Urban League, but then I have been there to host for the last 14 years, and hopefully that'll continue. And then what I want to encourage people is on January 19th, it's a holiday, but let's not take the day off. Let's plug in the celebrations and make a meaningful day out of what Dr. King was describing for. We were looking for equity and we were looking for access, and it was about increasing our community. So make sure that we take people, young people, out and continue to pass on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and make sure that we pass on the story, especially in this current narrative in the country where people are trying to divide us. Let's share the story and his desire to bring people together. You know, I believe his words were that he wanted to be one day that where little black children and little white children would join hands and sing, I'm free at last. I'm free at last. Thank God I'm free at last. You know, I'm paraphrasing some of his speech in that. But when you think about a visionary that wasn't yet 40 years old, that was out there making a difference. So let's celebrate his birthday by commemorating his legacy and making sure that we continue to tell the story. Because the story untold is yet to be repeated. But if we tell the story and keep it aware, we can still continue to move people forward, build unity. The Bible also says in Psalm 133, it is good for man to come together in harmony. And what a day to do it than on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So that's my busy weekend. How about you, sir?
Actually, I'm following suit with everything that you got going on. So I will be going into the city of Tampa to participate into some parades, do Mill on Wheels with my chapter, Sigma Psi Sigma, out of Tampa. I will be going to a Martin Luther King again Day parade on Monday. I will be celebrating our sorrows on Friday. I have an event to go to. I just got the flyer, so I will be popping out at that. I will be supporting our sorrows, our sisters. 106 years, man. What a blessing just to be a part of, this the number one fraternity in the world. Phi Beta Sigma. I'm happy that they accepted me for who I am and the value that I'm bringing, and I'm saying, in the service that we'll continue to do. And I think a lot of people, they join for different reasons, and a lot of the people they join the fraternities because it adds to them. But I love how you told me when I was confused. You was like, JR, you bring value. You are who you are. So you're not different, but you're doing what you need to do to bring, like, everywhere I go. I'm a Phi Beta Sigma man. I rep it. If you see me on the stage, like, you have the lapel, you have the pin. I wear the colors. I wear the hat. I let them know, no matter what. I'll be speaking at the University of South Florida on the end of this month, and I will be in my colors in an HBU CBU. I'm sponsored by them, HBCU sweatshirt. So I will be representing Phi Beta Sigma in the HBCU and making sure that Florida knows, California, because I'm from California. Everybody knows this is who I am now and how you doing the work now. I always run into people that I met in the past or past military or even growing up in California, and people tell me what they used to do. Who are you? What are you doing now? So I love the fact that you always evolving and you always holding me accountable. And I always wanted to be that type of person. When you see me 5 minutes from now, or 5 years, or 5 days, that I'm always a different version of a better version. I didn't decline. I'm the better version of what God needs me to be. And that's why I do my podcast, because I started to speak life into myself and uplift myself and understand who I am as a person, and let people know that, hey, you know what? This is what it takes. This is who I am. Let's figure this thing out. And once I started to figure it out, I started to raise my hand and say, something is not okay. And when I did that, I had a whole line of people say, you know what, I support you. Let me follow you. Let me listen. And I tell people all the time, motivational speaking, life coaching is an $8 billion industry. Make your lane, create your brand. 0.1%. You don't need to be like this person or that person or her or him. Be who you are. That's why I'm authentically myself. I show up with my hat on, with my Jordans on, but my rhetoric is incredible, and my education and how I serve my military, and what I'm doing now. So I appreciate you.
Well, you know what? And I appreciate you as well. And keep doing you. And if I can tell your listeners anything, stay in your lane. Do you. You know, um, the aesthetics is one thing, but it's the knowledge and the content that's within. You can dress it up in any manner of fashion that you want to, but I'm want to applaud you going after your doctorate, attaining your MBA, and all of the degrees and education that it takes to be able to build the rounded out person. But at the same time, you're in touch with who you are as a person, and that's so important. And I want to encourage everyone out there pursuing a higher degree of education to finish and run through the tape. Don't
Right.
run to the finish line. I want you to run through the tape, because when you run through the tape, you'll reap the rewards. You see many an Olympian run. I think the marathon or the decathlon is probably some of my favorite events, because it tests not only the physical endurance of the athlete, it tests the mental integrity of the athlete. To be able to do all of the elements of the decathlon and finish strong and then run a 26-mile marathon at the end, the mental test that you go through to do that just prepares you to be a superhuman being. I
Right.
would tell you life is the same way. You're
Right.
running a decathlon.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's in the Army, you're going to have that part of your journey. Mine was
Right.
the Marine Corps. You're
Right.
going to be in corporate America and things are going to be in your favor in cases, and then there'll be other times when they're not. But
Definitely.
it's how you handle each element of it and continue to move forward to the next level. So as you run the decathlon of life, I say that the Hood Motivator continue to motivate. I'm so honored to be able to sit at the motivators table and say that. And that I would just tell you folks, stay focused, believe, have a faith undeniable that you were made to do something special. That's the reason you were brought here to this earth. And I just guarantee you, if you stay focused, you'll do it. In fact, my pastor would say, you got to have a fierce focus. You got to be focused so that you don't let distractions get in your way. And as they come, you leap the hurdle and you keep going.
There you go. And I appreciate you. Right now, I'm going to open up the floor to let my community know and my patrons that, hey, what you got coming next? Can you tell us in the near future what you got coming next? And then leave us again with another quote, and then I'm going to close out.
What I got coming next is we're going back in the studio today. I'll be filming the next episode, beginning the new season of Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast. Folks, if you want to reach out to me, reach out at braswellglobal.com. You can get me right there, and I'll be glad to reach back to you. It's been a pleasure, And if it's Wednesday evening at 6 p.m., it's time for Off the Record, the Real Talk podcast. And stay tuned, because you will see the Hood Motivator on an episode of Off the Record.
Definitely. And how can we find you? On your social media, how can we find you? What's your handles?
On my social media, you can find me out on YouTube at Off the Record. The channel is out there, or you can pick up my podcast on any one of the platforms. I'm on all of them. And then you can find me at the Braswell group on Facebook, and Allie Braswell is real easy to find me. You'll see my smiling face. Just hit me up on Instagram or any one of those. So I'm out there. LinkedIn, drop me a note.
Definitely. I appreciate you. Thank you for gracing my podcast. I cannot wait to be on yours. This is definitely our year. I always say that. I leave the last few minutes for me just, you know what I'm saying, to always speak life and understand where we're coming from. And, I would say, like I said, was so impactful because I couldn't wait. I waited for a few years to get you on my podcast and make sure everything was right. And it's God's timing. Thank you for continuing to pour into my generation. Thank you for staying tuned with who we are and understanding that you can drop down and still mentor guys that look and understand. And like me, you know what I'm saying? I'm very difficult, not because I brag about it, because people their first impressions. But when I open my mouth, the people that should have betted on me, they wish they should have. But at the end of the day, I appreciate it. I would say too, the storm. I talk about it all the time. There's two animals that's distinctly that go through hurricanes and storms and tornadoes. And them two animals, one is a cow and one is a bull. And at the end of the day, when a storm comes, the cow runs from the storm, so that storm stays longer. but the bull runs through that eye of the storm. And I ask you today, audience, which one are you? Are you the cow or the bull? Are you going to run through that storm and see the other side of it? You're going to hop off the porch? Or are you going to run from it and continue to carry that storm for 5 to 10 to 15 years? And always, you always have something to talk about. But what about having something new? What about dropping down to that new generation saying, hey, I went through this type of storm, but this is how I got through it because I went through the eye of it, I endured it, and this is what I have something to talk about. I think in our society, a lot of people are they the cow. They still run from the situation and they don't want to talk about it. And I think that the way I blew up and the way that I put my platform in order was I told my story. I was authentic myself. I didn't hide my scars. I showed you that, hey, this is what's going on with me. I have mental health. I have TBI. My mother died of AIDS. I was on skid row with my mom. I've been through a lot of combat issues in the military. Now this is who I am. And then when I got out and became an entrepreneur, I experienced bankruptcy. I experienced betrayal. I experienced all these type of emotions, but it got me to who I am now, one of the top 50 motivational speakers in the world. And I appreciate it because I tell people all the time that I had to go through it so I can glow. And that's what God put in my heart. He said, you went a long way, JR, but you went the wrong way. So let me sit you down, let me talk to you again, let me make you understand who you are, speak life back into you. And that's what my podcast is about, ladies and gentlemen. It's about speaking life, pouring into people, giving people their flowers now instead of putting them on grave sites. Give them their flowers now. Understand, love on them, and I'm able to say on this podcast that I love my mentor. I'm proud of him. I think highly of him. I would never stop mentioning his names in rooms that he's not in. I will always defend him with my mind, my body, and my soul. And I think that's how we have to come back for each other as men, as black men, as Sigma men, as people. Like we didn't know each other, but I think God, no, I don't think I know God put you in my life for a specific reason. My father's not here. He's in California. But to see you, and I tell my dad about you all the time, and he wants to meet you. But I appreciate you just showing me the ropes. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in on my season 3 podcast, The Motivators Table, when we inspire you. And thank you, Los Angeles Tribune, for giving me a shot at podcasting and making me the face of your podcast and just putting me in that position where I can touch so many people. And I'll leave you with this. Go to my website, type it in at thehoodmotivator.com. You will see all my events that I'm speaking at. I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple, I'm on YouTube, I'm on Instagram. And just thank you just for following me. And motivators, let's mount up. This is why we here. And thank you, Ali Braswell. Thank you, mentor. Thank you, Mr. Ali Braswell. Thank you, Sigma Man. Thank you for just being a blessing to my life and allowing me to be in your life. So I appreciate you again. And if there's anything I can do for you, you allow me to let me do. And I can't wait for the future. I know what you got going on. I can't wait to be a part of it. I can't wait to just be right next to you, just watching it, how it evolves, how it develops. And no, 100%, you got my support. I got your back. Whatever you need, the muscle, the whatever, the mind, the soul, whatever you need, I'm there for you. And let's continue to push forward.
Well, they say if you want to run and get somewhere, lock arms with a motivated individual that's self motivated and driven, and you'll get there. So we'll get there together, brother. We're going all the way to the top.
I thank you so much and I appreciate you. And thank you guys for tuning in. The Motivators Table. I see you guys soon on my next episode. Boom.